All right. Well, thanks very much for joining us on this call today. And Zach is one busy guy. He's hard to snag, but he was able to come up to our monthly meeting last week and taught a lot about automation. And because most of us do have full-time jobs, and it's tough to keep everything going at the same time, so so he was able to talk about automation. And this, sorry. There we go.
That's Roger.
Let me just say, hey Roger, let me see if I can, did I mute him out? Here we go. There we go. No. Oh, hey, here we go. Mute. Okay. I'm going to start the recording all over again. So, all right. So welcome, and welcome to this call with Zack Childress. My name is Linda. I'm with the Connecticut Real Estate Investors Association. And I was just talking to Zack about all the projects he's working on real estate-wise, but somehow in between times, he has time to train people all over the country. He's trained a lot of us local Connecticut RIA members, primarily in wholesaling. And he's going to step away for Saturday to come speak for us at the expo this weekend. And so I thought if you haven't registered yet, you might want to find out what all the details are about. So, Zach, you want to just share a couple of things about you and what you're doing right now in real estate?
Well, absolutely. I've got so much going on. I mean, obviously, we know we're in that time. We're in what's called a cash grab or reserve creating cycle of the real estate market. And so that's really what we've been doing. We've been focused in the last year because of the market cycle that we're in right now is on reserve stacking reserves, stacking cash. And so we've been spending a lot of time really going after things that we can make large chunks of money on, like wholesaling, rehabbing, quick flips. We've really spent a lot of time in a development project that we've got going that's breaking ground to sell off 28 townhouses, and we've already got half of those pre-sold. So, you know, we're very aware of what market cycle we're in, and we're positioning ourselves to just keep stacking cash so that when the cycle keeps going the way it's going, we'll be in a better position to buy more commercial, big commercial, small commercial, apartments, small apartments, you know, because as interest rates rise and this market keeps stabilizing, you know, cap rates are going to keep going up, which means commercial properties are going to keep going down in value, which means more cash flow. So in a Cliff Note version, that's where my mind is as a 16-year real estate investor, and just keeping an awareness on the market and what we're doing to capitalize on.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, so that's really important. Just right now in Connecticut, I was surprised. There's still 1 out of 475 people are going through foreclosure. And so that was a little surprising to me. So there's still a lot of opportunity in that market. We have really tight rentals. So if you put out an ad for a rental property, you're going to fill it up very, very quickly. And even the rehabs, if they're bought right and sold right, they're flying off the shelf because there's just not enough inventory. So so we really wanted to so you're going to be talking about wholesaling this weekend, and what do you feel the role of the wholesaler is to grease all the wheels in the whole real estate market for everybody else?
Well, you know, 100%, and I really am coming this weekend to talk about what, you know, is one of my favorite subjects to talk about. It's one of the reasons I love it so much.
Sorry, I'm trying to. What's going on here? Everybody, if you could just mute yourselves, that would be really cool. I'm not sure. There we go. Sorry, Zach.
No.
Let's try that again. Sorry about that.
Okay. You know, so I'm really coming this weekend to talk about the thing that really took me off in my business. It elevated my game, but I learned so much when it came to the wholesaling business model, you know, 16 years ago, because I started, you know, like every other wholesaler. I was trying to do traditional wholesaling, find a cash buyer, find a discounted seller, and and even though I've managed to work my way through those muddy waters, what I realized is that's what everybody was trying to do. They were all trying to go after the same cash buyers. They were all trying to go after the same deals that I was going after. So I had to increase my marketing budget. I had to go wider. I had to understand different aspects. And it really just kind of dawned on me one day that, I wasn't really in control of my business when I was trying to do the same type of wholesaling that everybody else was doing. It was really more of a race to who could get to the deal first, and I just didn't like that model. And so I spent a lot of time early in my wholesaling career figuring out smarter ways to become a better wholesaler, to do more deals and not have so much competition. And so that led me down the pipe into understanding all the 4 different ways to wholesale, understanding all the different marketing approaches. But one of the things I am going to share on Saturday with everybody was what really changed it all for me was when I dug deep and started learning market segmentation and how to look at a market and segment that market down into specific, what we call zip code clustering zones, so that we could take a zip code, pull out the clustering zones, which means per neighborhood, and it would tell us what type of wholesaling strategy that we needed to deploy in that sector of the market, which took the guessing game out of it, took all the work out of it. And what it did for me was it allowed me to move into markets that other wholesalers just weren't moving into because they were so fixated on finding a cash buyer, finding a house at a discount, that they didn't look at these other markets. And so to your question, what is the value add of a wholesaler in the market? Well, I think it depends on their skill set. I think it depends on where they are, because look, you can have 100 people all trying to be wholesalers, and yes, they can add value to your landlords, to your rehabbers, because they can find deals. But the challenge is what happens is when you have a highly competitive market of wholesalers, when they're all trying to compete just to get it under contract, and then one of them finally gets it under contract and brings it to me as an investor, there's hardly any profit left in the deal because they had to keep going up so far in price point. And so, it's really about teaching them how to not just be in there trying to survive, but actually how to build a business from it and get the better deals and get to them first. And so then they do become an asset to the other investors in the marketplace. But then you've got the other side of it. You've got some wholesalers out there that have really gotten to the point where they're doing 3, 4, 5 deals a month, and that's great. The challenge with those wholesalers is they're pretty locked into their buyers. That's why they've gotten to where they are. So the new wholesaler coming in has to figure out a way, how do I compete with this wholesaler without competing with them? Meaning, look, if they've already got their buyers in line, they've already got their marketing dialed in, and somehow they have figured out how to get to 4 to 5 wholesale deals a year, it's not like this new wholesaler is just going to come riding in on a white horse and then knock that guy out of the equation or that woman out of the equation. So they've got to start working on strategies and other wholesaling ideas that are going to allow them to build a model by competing, but not directly competing with a wholesaler that might be doing, 30, 40 flips of contracts per year.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Yeah, and I think that's really important. And I just want to let you know that every week rehabbers come to me and say, look, Linda, you must know every single person at the RIA. There's got to be somebody there who's actively wholesaling because I need some deals. And that's coming from rehabbers. I'm getting also that from people that want to buy and hold. And so these guys are, if they're doing it right, they're finding deals that nobody else knows about, so we can be the first dibs in. So,
no, it's very true. Look, at my RIA, it's the same way, Linda. The rehabbers, the landlords are coming in and they're saying, "Hey, what wholesaler do I need to get on, on their list besides you, Zach?" Because they know I'm buying the good ones. I'm only wholesaling out the ones that I don't want. They know that, right? And
right.
And so they're like, "Are there other ones?" And that's how rehabbers and landlords are when they're not running a business in this. They're just like, hey, I want to flip 3 or 4 houses a year. I'll connect with wholesalers. They'll bring me some good deals. They don't spend money on marketing. They don't do any of that stuff. They just focus on their 4 or 5 deals a year, and they're happy. But, let's call it what it is. Most wholesalers don't make it past, 90 to 180 days. They just don't.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they get out
Yep.
there, they want to do it, they think it's exciting, but there's a couple of equations that they could fix that would give them longevity. And number one is understanding market segmentation, knowing, because a lot of wholesalers, it's almost like they try to take a square and stick it in a round hole. And they try to force wholesaling into a market that they know, when that market may be the worst market to try to do wholesale deals in. And so they try and try and try and try, and then ultimately it doesn't work, so they give up. So the idea is before you even make an offer, before you even waste time, understand the market. Understand where's the need for this strategy. Don't try to force your strategy into a market, but listen to the market and figure out what it needs and then bring that strategy to. Number two is, if they want to stay in longevity, they have to stop doing what everybody else is doing, and they have to build out and become more of a master wholesaler and really understand what we call a quadrant system and how to wholesale 4 different ways. And when they do that, now they can work leads of all types and work with buyers of all types, from cash buyers to finance buyers to landlord buyers to even buyers that don't even have money to buy a house. But you do that through what we call option control wholesaling. And so there's all these different formats that allow a real wholesaler to work multiple leads and not just what, you can go down to Barnes and Nobles and buy a book to learn how to do.
One of the biggest challenges that people have is they put something under contract and then they don't have the money to close the deal. So to me, that's like you don't have enough of a buyer's list. Do you have any comments about that?
Yeah, I believe that, there's 2 things every investor has to do. I don't care if you're a wholesaler, or if you're a Tier 2 creative investor, or if you're a Tier 3 rehabber, or a Tier 4 landlord. I don't care what you are. There's 2 things you always have to do. Number 1 is find leads, and number 2 is raise money. Look, I'm 16 years full-time in this business, and I'm still always doing those 2 things.
Okay.
Always doing those 2 things. And so when someone says, look, I got this deal under contract, but, I don't have the funds to buy it, well, then obviously you need to wholesale it then. If you can't buy it, then you need to wholesale it to make something off of it, whether it's 5, 10, 15, 20 grand. It doesn't matter. And then they go, oh, yeah, but I can make 50 if I close on it. Yeah, but if you don't have the money, or you didn't even start building relationships before you got to this point, then you kind of got your buggy ahead of your horse, in essence. And that happens so much, Linda. People get in, they get excited, they want to do it, and they don't even start doing the foundational work. They don't start understanding the market, the funding, their team, all the things that they need to do, and they just go out and run after deals. And then when they actually get a deal, it's almost like they're in such a hurry to try to get that deal to work that when they're in that process, when they're in a reactive process, that's where all the mistakes are made. That's where they get themselves in a lot of trouble. They cost themselves money because they're so eager to make money and not treat it as a business that it hurts them. It backfires on them.
Yeah, absolutely. You're talking a lot about market segmentation and marketing things. Connecticut is a small state. All of our states up here are very small, and yet we have a lot of markets. I mean, you've got Fairfield County where people are spending $1 million or more on a property, and all of a sudden, about 2 years ago, everything stopped, froze. We had rehabbers getting stuck with things. And then you've got other markets within the state of Connecticut that are moving and grooving a lot. So I think it's so smart to be able to identify what markets they are, know how to research them, and within the markets to figure out what your best strategy is.
That's right. And I think I owe so much of my success in all the multiple states that I invest in from that. Like people say, well, Zack, how do you go into other markets? Because I don't make one phone call. I don't make one offer. I don't do any marketing until I've done market segmentation and market research. And then I narrow that down to zip code cluster zones. And then I put a map up on the wall, like Oklahoma. We're doing a lot of stuff in Oklahoma right now. And we know exactly what we need to do in Oklahoma. And we know which strategies to deploy per group. So it literally cuts our effort down.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I know also negotiation with you is a big deal, too. Can you talk about how important that is, and do you have any quick tips on negotiating?
Well, I'm actually going to share some stuff on Saturday about negotiation. I'm going to walk them through what's called a 4-step approach. And, ultimately, you have to understand that negotiation is really a tough word for some people because, some people don't even see themselves as a great communicator, and so they're thinking, oh, I got to negotiate. But ultimately, negotiation is just an opportunity for you to listen. That's what it really is. And so if we take the word negotiation and we really dissect it, what it really means is are you a good listener? And if you can be a listener, then you can be a great communicator. And so, but we get in an essence as a human being that we think negotiation means it's me telling you what this deal needs to happen, right? And that's not negotiation at all. It's not me telling you what to do. It's me listening. It's me asking questions and listening, asking questions and listening, and then taking those answers and putting them into a win-win situation. And ultimately, that's what I'm going to break down Saturday, too, is that 4-step process. What we do to create that communication dialogue and how we find the solution that helps the seller and helps us without losing the deal.
Yeah. You know what? I wish I could find this, but somewhere in Reader's Digest, remember that magazine? There was like the word of the month or something, and there was this, one of the longest words in the English language is a Hawaiian word that says something like, that the other person thinks that what you think is a good idea, which is exactly what negotiation is. So by the time you're done with it, both people say, whatever I'm thinking about, whatever I think is going to be good for me and good for them, that they're also going to think is a good idea. So if you can get on that level, you're going to have a lot of deals happen. For sure.
And I think it's like, people think negotiation is like trying to beat somebody down, and that's not what negotiation is. Negotiation is listening. It's being good at listening and hearing what they want and need.
Yes, absolutely. Now, the other thing is, I know you're going to talk about, and I get lots of questions about this, about how do you actually close on a wholesale deal, especially because we're an attorney state. All the New England states are attorneys. So you're going to address some of that also, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in an attorney state, so I'm very clear with it. I mean, I have really good attorneys that close all my wholesale transactions. I'll even tell you a quick story. One of the things that's one of my biggest problems with wholesalers is they never set the true intent early with the seller, which we're going to talk about this on Saturday, so that when the wholesaler does actually assign the contract, they almost feel like they have to go run and hide and stick their head in a hole because they're afraid the seller might be like, oh, no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
And so that's where it comes down to intent. And if you communicate correctly with your intent, you're in a position. You're in a position with that.
Mas tem que deixar a garagem aberta para ficar.
Excuse me 1 second. Hold on.
Okay.
Got it. Go.
Okay. So you're in a position with that seller at that point to say at the end, hey, look, I remember in the beginning when I told you that, this could be part of the process. Well, I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I want you to meet Linda. Linda's going to actually be at the closing and close on you. Well, give me an example. I show up at a closing. I'm buying off of a wholesaler who beat me to a deal. I still wanted the deal. He got it. And I still wanted it, so I called him up and said, look, I'll buy it off of you. So he sold it to me. I got the contract, that is. I got the contract. I show up at the closing. The seller's sitting there, drove up from Tallahassee, Florida. I'm sitting there, and they're like, are you here for the Crescent Circle closing? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be buying it. And he's like up in a roar about it. He's like, what are you talking about? You're not who I signed the contract with. Who are you? Where'd you come from?
Oh, and wow.
So I explained to him what an assignment of contract is and how I bought the equitable rights and, hey, the money's already in escrow. And obviously he's not hearing me at all because he doesn't know me from a hole in the wall. Well, this is why having your team together and having the right attorney on your team is very important, because then Matt, my attorney, pulls us in a room and basically explains to him the exact same thing I explained to him, what it was, equitable interest that I was buying. And he was like, okay, that sounds good. The point to that is what you just said. Even if you're in an attorney state, it's about having the right attorney, because there's multiple ways to close a wholesaling transaction, and it's about having that attorney that understands that and knows that it's not illegal if it's done correctly. Now, are there a lot of wholesalers out there right now that are doing it illegally? Yes. Look at Ohio. Ohio cracked down on wholesalers. I mean, cracked down on them, because they had so many guys out there trying to wholesale that really didn't understand the legal aspects of it, didn't even understand what they were doing. They heard somebody talk about it, and they just went out and started doing it. And they got them all on their intent, got them on fraud, got them on acting and representing like an agent. I mean, just went down on them. But here's the beauty of it is that's an uneducated person. So to do it correctly is what I'm going to be hitting a lot about on Saturday. It's about your intent, it's about your language, it's about your agreement, what clauses you have in that agreement. If you do all that correctly, then you're fine. Mm-hmm. You're fine. It's just right. So many new people who don't want to, get themselves educated. They go, oh, wholesaling, that's easy. I'll just go out here and put a contract and sell that contract. Well, it's not. I mean, there's things you got to be careful about. There's words you got to be careful about, and there's certain things that have to go into the agreement to make sure that your intent is very justifiable.
Wholesaling is a great place to start because you don't have to use your own money or your credit, and right. You can learn all the different aspects like estimating repairs, figuring out what the after repair value is, figuring out what the cash flow is, figuring out all of that while working with experienced investors. And at the same time, it is a profession. So if you go into it and you really learn it, you study it, you do it the right way, you will always be wholesaling. In fact, one of my students, he's done a bunch of different, well, first of all, he's a big-time contractor down in Greenwich, but for his own business, he does a lot of rentals. And he ran across the property, had some fire damage, and, it turned out he put it under contract, but he didn't want it as much as somebody else wanted it. And so he went back to the owner. They reworked the deal. So then his friend was able to get it, and the owner was able to make more money. Everybody benefited all the way around. But knowing these skills is going to help you make money whether you're brand new or whether you're doing 10, 15, 100 deals a year. So it's a really good skill to know.
Listen, I'm still doing it 16 years later.
Yeah.
When I first started, it was my primary thing. That was all I did. I mean, I was doing anywhere from 12 to 14 a month when I was really ramping it up into wholesaling. But, as you evolve as an investor, you start doing more passive stuff, more, big stuff. But I still wholesale. I mean, I just wholesaled a storage unit building that didn't meet my needs. I had it under contract. I was going to buy it, but after I ran some more numbers, I didn't want it, so I wholesaled it off. I mean, wholesaling can be a primary strategy to start, but then as you grow and years go on and you start building up and doing more bigger stuff, then what wholesaling becomes is an exit for extra money on the deals that you don't want anymore.
Oh, I see. Yep. Yeah, exactly. And it's not that the deal is bad necessarily. It's that you just don't have time for it, or you got other priorities, or whatever.
Or you grow and you realize there's better deals.
Yeah, exactly. So let me just take a moment. So Zack is sharing what he's going to be talking about on Saturday. Obviously, as you can tell, he's an active real estate investor. He's doing things that he's going to be teaching things that he does right now, and he's been training students all around the country on it. We have students right here. Sure, go ahead.
The world.
Oh, the world. Oh, okay.
We have students in Australia now, and Canada, Singapore, Russia, and a bunch of other places now.
Oh, really? Wow.
We do, yeah.
Well, and that's one thing that's kind of funny. I think it's coming back, but for a while, everyone else in the world was investing in America except for Americans. We got down on ourselves, and so I'm glad to see that trend is doing. But America is one of the best bargains right now in the world, and we have a lot of upside going on. So definitely want to get involved with this for sure. And so, this weekend we're featuring as many different people as we can about what's happening in the real estate market. It's going to be happening this Saturday and Sunday, November 3rd and 4th in Connecticut. Right now, just so you know, the Four Points Sheraton is in the middle of transferring their name into a Marriott, so you may see it both ways. I encourage you to book a hotel room and make it an entire weekend for you. If you will be starting early, right on time at 9 a.m., and then we'll be going to about 5:30 on Saturday, and then on Sunday we'll be going from, what time were we doing? Oh, Sunday we're doing 9 to about 4:30. Zack's going to be training on Saturday, going way deep into not only wholesaling, but researching markets, automation. He's going to cram a lot into two hours. He gave me his outline. He's like, wow, Zack, you sure you can do this? And then Reggie the next day is going to be talking about identifying vacant houses. He's going to be talking more about rehabbing. And Chris Johnson will be talking about getting the grants available for funding your deals. And then we have a lot of local trainers. I'm going to be talking about buying apartments. Ron's going to be talking about whether $1 million really is a lot of money, and and then why he traveled all over the country and just came back to Connecticut, and why he really believes Connecticut is probably the best place to invest, especially for apartments. Mark is a CPA. He's going to be talking about how to run your business. We've got Joanne talking about negotiation, and then Lou's going to be talking about rehabbing and how to make it look like that big reveal is really expensive but saves money in your pocket. And then I have some, and then I've got several different speakers about money, how to get commercial funding for residential properties, how to get hard money lending. We have another CPA talking about how to save money this year and next year, because, you know, there were some tax code changes that really can affect us as real estate investors. And then maybe one of the most important things is we're going to have a lot of case studies from people that are doing deals right here in the state, and you can walk through the deals with them virtually, and they're going to share what worked for them, what didn't work for them, and then we'll have panel discussions. You can ask whatever questions you want to ask of them. And I know, Zach, you're going to be sharing a case study in your presentation, right, about how you made $8,000 on that. So.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Well, one of them, I just thought that it was, you know, it's great to like kind of say, hey, look, I made this on this deal, I made this on this deal, but I know some people are like, yeah, but how? Like, what did you do?
Right.
So
Yeah.
I'm going to take one of them and break it down, and it's how I made $8,000 in 1 week on a wholesale deal. And I'm just going to walk them through the steps, like how I found the seller, how we communicated, what I found the pain. It's basically 5 different steps I'm going to take them through on what I did, and all the way to what I did to sell the deal. So
that is awesome. And you know, I know you've never met him since, but we have a local student who went to your workshop. You really broke down the whole system of wholesaling, and he's a fireman, and he makes good money, but he doesn't make enough money to take his kids on the road, and that's what wholesaling has done. He's been able to find properties, rehab them. He actually told me he turns on the spigot when he wants to go on vacation with the kids, and then turns it off when he has enough money. So it's good. Now, tickets are only $49 for members, a little bit more if you're not a member, to come for those 2 days of training. But I'm also going to invite you to come as a VIP. We have a walkthrough on Friday night. This is students that have finished rehabbing a property. They're going to be able to walk through it, find out how they found it, how they funded it. By the way, we cannot serve food that night because it is finished and it's under contract, so they don't want to mess it up. But it'll be from 6 to about 7:30. As soon as you register, we'll send you the address. And then on Saturday evening, we have our VIP Saturday dinner. And this has always been fun. Zach has joined us in years past. He's joining us this time, where you can ask all the questions that he doesn't say from the stage. You want to get the inside scoop. He'll be sharing dinner with us. We'll be networking with all the different trainers. And so it's a really great opportunity for you to network with people that are really doing this business and find out where you should get going and how to take your business. If you're already started, how to take your business to the next level for 2019. If you're just getting started, where to get started. And then actually we have a whole educational piece for VIPs. And Zach, I don't know if you know this, but you gave our VIPs My First Deal handbook or playbook. Yep, My First Deal playbook. So that's going to be a gift for you guys. And then Reggie and Chris each have CDs that they're going to give you, and there's a lot more educational pieces for you as a VIP. So if you can, I highly recommend it. And I'll tell you what, this year's...
dinner. I was going to say, while they're at dinner, if they want me to, I'll sign their book for them, and
cool.
that way they can have a signed copy.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. And then we've simplified the ticket buying process. So all you have to select is whether you're a member, not yet a member, or a coaching student, and then you click on here and it'll show you the different levels of tickets to make it as easy as possible. Or, of course, you could call 860-265-4414, and you can find this website at ctriaconference.com, the ctriaconference.com. Really, it's filling up fast. We're kind of running out of seats. We're hoping that more of you are going to join and jump on board and like that. So, Zach, is there anything else you want to share with us, about what we should know and how we can prepare for the weekend, what we should be looking for?
I think that preparing for, and I've been to your expo before, and they're amazing, by the way.
Thank you.
The quality of the people that you bring in, and from what I have had time at those dinners to talk to people, I mean, and then I see them again and how far they've come in their business. You know, I think what you do there is a tremendous service, first off, because, you know, not too many people can put that many experts in one weekend, and you pull it off, and I know we're not easy to get together.
That's true.
So I would say this, that people need to come rested and prepared for all 3 days. I agree with you, Linda, they should stay at the hotel just so that they can be part of the networking and get up early and be in it. I think that this weekend could really change the lives for lots of people. One of the things that I do want to, you know, just elaborate on is that I'm not just going to be talking about wholesaling, and so I don't want people to just be like, oh, I know wholesaling. The reality is when I talk to people who think they know wholesaling, they really don't know wholesaling. They understand like traditional wholesaling, but I'm going to open it up to a whole new world for them. I mean, I'm going to show them so many more different aspects from, like we talked about, like segmenting and picking markets, and some of the really cool marketing strategies that they could be doing. I'm also going to break down what we call in our office our 7-step system, and I'm going to lay it out for them. And I'm going to break down each one of those steps so that they know in their mind what are the components that I need to be working on to make this business grow. And then I'm going to also be talking about the closings and the contracting and the scripting and, you know, all the things that have to be done. But more importantly, I don't want them to just take wholesaling as another job. So I'm going to show them, you know, some other cool stuff that we have spent a lot of time in our business developing to make it more automated and streamlined as when we talk about the whole business operation.
Yeah, you're really big on systems, and that's one of the things I'm really impressed about working with you. Other than you're a lot of fun, but you really know how to build businesses, and you don't just do real estate. You've built other businesses, and they're all based on systems. And your process of automating and and simplifying and building the system is really, really important. It makes a difference between somebody being here today and gone tomorrow versus somebody who's doing this for their life. And so that's really, really exciting, and I appreciate that. I do want to thank you again, Zack, because I attended one of your workshops here a couple of years ago, and you said one phrase, which I wrote down, and I now put in all my contracts, and it has helped me do short sale deals and like nobody's business. And I
know what that phrase is.
You know what that is, right? So you definitely want to come. You definitely want to hang out with us and bring your questions, bring your leads, bring your deals. Also, I'd bring about 50 to 100 business cards. If you don't have official business cards, there's always paper and pencil. Get Zack's autograph and join us for the VIP. All right, Zack, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to seeing you Saturday. And make sure your flight gets here on time. It should be beautiful weather, so we should be okay.
I'm flying in early Saturday morning, so I think I have lots of time to get up to the hotel.
Perfect. All right, great. All right, everybody, thank you so much, Zack. Again, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you spending the time with us.
Thanks, Linda.
All right, bye-bye.